All right, welcome everybody to the college football playoff edition of the live show here on Mike's Money Picks. As always with the live show, I am joined by my co-host Zac Green, aka Big Country DFS. Zac, how's everything going for you today?
It's great. Good to be back here on for another episode. I don't know how many we'll get to do for the bowls, but there's also not very many slates where there's actually a slate and not just like a showdown.
Yeah, it's they really spread out the schedule this year. Like I could have sworn like the last few years there's been more condensed like two game, like just all the way through. I don't know, maybe the timing of the college football playoff and the way they did those games might have affected it. But there's not as many 2-3 game slates out there this year. We do get a huge Saturday slate for the 27th. And then obviously we're going to have the big New Year's Day slate for the college football playoff. But yeah, this could very well be one of the last shows of the season because I don't really know exactly what the schedules are going to look like through the holidays. So let's enjoy this one while we got it. And, this could be the last go round for the year. Now, I do apologize for our lateness here in getting on. No, Darren, we were not preparing Gasparilla Bowl stats, although I do have some takes on the Gasparilla Bowl, especially now that I know what a Gasparilla is. Shout out to Tampa Mike for that one. But I basically got home, and the area where I podcast was turned into a gift wrapping station by my wife because, it's that time of year. And kind of had to clear it off so that way I could get on here because Lord knows no other area of the house is suitable right now for me to not wake up the two kids. So sorry for that delay, y'all, but we're here now to break down. And we're going to talk both the Friday and the Saturday slates here in this episode. 6 total games, 2 total slates. Everything college football playoff, everything Friday and Saturday. We are here to have it covered. Now, I will say, I've seen this, Darren. I believe they're trying to do an M. The Missouri State players doing the horns down, I believe they're trying to make an M. That's what I believe. It's like their school thing. I don't believe they're doing horns down. They have no reason to hate Texas, even though there's a lot of schools out there that have a lot of reason to hate Texas. Missouri State is not one of them. All right, so, Zac, you ready to go ahead and dive into this Friday slate?
Yeah, ready to get started. And one of the first things that we wanted to mention, I'll just talk a little bit while you're pulling everything up.
Yes, I'm going to try to pull up the sheet real quick.
And so you can find out on Fantasy Corner Discord, Big Country DFS Discord, or Twitter is where I post all these sheets and for college basketball as well. But one of the things we were talking about before the show that we wanted to mention was how important it is to be around for news.
Yes.
And we saw that last night with the game, and it was a 4:00 Central Time, so people are at work or they're just leaving work on the East Coast. And so a lot of people weren't paying attention, and all of a sudden, 30 minutes before lock, Singleton's out for USF, their number one receiver. And then 15 minutes later, Mudia Rubin, their number 2 receiver, was also ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, Neptune is in, who everyone expected not to be in, and he was only $1,000 and he was 10% owned. And so just by paying attention to the news, it was easy to cash that one. We had a lot of big cash on that one because, yeah, it was just paying attention to the news. Singleton was like 60% owned. Even like Byron Brown was like 30% in a contest.
Which is crazy because that was known beforehand.
Yeah.
But he was like calling plays last night. He was not playing in the game. So last time I checked, can't score fancy points from calling the plays.
And so you just kind of have to be around. And so especially like with this first game tomorrow being at 10 o'clock in the morning for Central Time, people are going to be at work. And so you can get an edge by just paying attention to see if anybody is randomly out in this Western Michigan, Kennesaw State. Now, granted, I will say it's more like the top guys, like Smothers, we already knows out.
Yes.
Or like with USF, a lot of it was because they lost their coach. And so a lot of those teams that don't have a coach is the ones you want to pay attention to.
Yeah, and really, like, bowl season is one of those where you're just going to need to be by your phone at kick. Like, and you have to be willing to research, like, search these guys' names into Twitter or, like, find a beat writer who's there. Like, just you got to be willing to do these research for bowl games. And I will say, if you're not somebody who likes to do stuff like that, join the Fantasy Corner Discord because we had a lot of guys in there. You were in there. Bucky was in there, just really in tune to who was in, who was out. And a lot of us ended up on similar lineups, and a lot of us made a lot of money. Like, I have gotten my teeth kicked in on both slates before because I've missed lock or I've had something else going on, and I've missed guys being out. But last night was kind of the night where I won it all back. I took down 2 GPPs on FanDuel, won a lot of money in the showdown on DraftKings. Like, just if you were able to have the news last night, you probably raked. And so that is not something that's going to happen necessarily every time, because one thing that did happen last night was it was super easy swaps, right? Like, there was only so many receivers South Florida had left. And so you just knew, oh, Neptune's in, he's going to be the guy. Oh, they still got Koger. Okay, that one's easy. Like, it was just super obvious swap options. And it just came to fruition perfectly that if you had that news, you were probably able to rake. So I don't know if that's going to happen to us on any of these games for the Friday slate, but just like letting you guys be aware, like, if you are playing these bowl slates, you're going to need to pay attention to news. You're going to need to be able to make swaps if guys are late scratches or, late opt-outs, late transfers. Zach, are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Your screen.
Okay, let me try to refresh. I was wondering what's going on.
Okay, so I'll kind of keep filibustering because we do have a good question in the chat. And guys, if you are watching and you are in the chat, let us know. Ask any questions. If there's anything you want to talk about, anybody you want to cover, just put it there in the chat. So, like, Anthony is asking, hey, what's the best game stack on FanDuel? And so, Zach, I think this is the perfect segue into talking about the Friday slate. I'm a firm believer that the best game stack, especially now that we got some news today, I think the best game stack is that NC State-Memphis game. I think there's going to be explosive plays all over the field, and I think that both those teams got a lot easier to target, especially one of them with the news today. What do you think about the best game stack?
Yeah, that was my favorite already, just because you have, NC State, we've been targeting them all year. They don't play any defense. Memphis plays a little bit better, but not great. You have Alabama OU. That's going to be outside in the cold in Norman. It's going to be defensive. I could see it being like a 21-17, or even less than that. Really, I could maybe make a case for Kennesaw, Western Michigan, but it's hard for me to just get real in love with stacking any MAC games.
Yeah, I get that, and really with Western Michigan, they tend to not play a whole lot of games that shoot out because they just play this super slow tempo, grinded out, running the ball. Like, they're up there in terms of rush rate, like right up next to the service academies. Like it's crazy how much they're running the ball and how much that grinds on the clock, how much possessions that reduces, right? Like, you go look at their game log for Western Michigan. There's not really a game on here except for the North Texas game in week 2. Shout out North Texas. That would have been a good game stack for both sides. Like, even near the end of action, they played Eastern Michigan, and it was 31-21, and that wasn't exactly a great game to stack on the Eastern Michigan side. So I really do think that, the NC State-Memphis game, that's going to be the one you're going to want to stack. Does that mean completely full fade the Western Michigan or the Alabama games? No, it does not. But I do think that you're probably going to want to, in your pool, make sure you have more players from that Memphis-NC State game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And with the value that we got with the news on Smothers, and we can plug Scott in at, basically a running back 2 price for running back 1. Then you can get Lowry or you can get Buckley because those two they're like, they're kind of like Jacksonville State with Creel and Cook. They're basically 80% of their offense, and it's mostly running, like you mentioned.
Yeah, Cam Cook, also a guy with a late opt-out this week, by the way.
Yeah, but that one nobody knew about until the broadcast started.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of jokes about that I saw on Twitter and in the Discord about that opt-out. Somebody called it the Bonnie Blue special, and if you want to know what that means, you can look it up. This is a family show. So, yeah, Darren, 100%. Try to find a 2-deep roster. Yes, some of these bowl games are making these teams publish 2-deeps. And if you can find that 2-deep, it's really clear to know who's in, who's out, and who the guy to have is in case somebody is out. That's a very valid point by Darren there. Now, one more thing got to talk about. I forgot where I was going with this, Zach. Yes, now I remember. The strategy of the slate, right? Because more often than not, we hop on these shows, we're talking about these big 10, 11, 12 game slates. We're not talking about ones that are 3 games. So, we're going to get on the specifics of the Friday slate first. But are there any kind of macro principles or like any kind of like guiding strategies that you have for dealing with a 3 game slate?
Yeah. So what I kind of do is I try to get 1, maybe 2 guys of the chalk that I think I could see a path to busting, and I just take a stand and fade them.
I like
it's
that.
not always going to work, obviously, but because as we've seen this year, the chalk has just been going off like pretty much every week.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one way. Another way is, kind of like we talked about, you could be unique and you could stack NC State and Memphis with Lewis and Braham, and then only use Scott on the other side or something like that. Because the thing is, with NC State, their passing is not very condensed. It's kind of all over the
Right.
place outside of Jolly. And Jolly he's one of those names you're going to have to watch for because he could opt out to prep for the NFL or whatever. And especially if Smothers is already out too. And so you got to watch that. And so just kind of looking at ways like I wouldn't say just go, oh well, no one's going to play OU Alabama, so let me stack that game. There's a reason it's a 40-point total.
Right. Right. Very rarely do you see like the strange game stack work out in college football. Very rarely.
Yeah, I mean, I could get behind it if we had a couple other games on the slate that were like that. But when you have NC State and Memphis, who already doesn't have good defense, and they've already lost some other guys on defense, like.
And the one thing I'll add is that like sometimes when I'm doing these slates, I try to like, holy crap, do I have an echo?
Just a little, not too bad.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I realized what it was. I think I still had the YouTube link open, and for some reason it started playing sound. I wholly apologize to anybody watching. Anyway, one of the things I try to do on a 3-game slate is I really try to tell the story with the lineup, right? So when I'm looking to pick quarterbacks, I am looking to find the guys that I think are going to be the top 2 quarterbacks. Like there's going to be 6 on the slate that start. If you want to win all of the money, you need to find the top 2. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you want to win all the money, you got to find the top 2 out of the 6. And so I'm trying to find those top 2. And then with the rest of my lineup, I'm telling the story of, okay, if this guy is one of the top 2 quarterbacks, then who else on his team goes off? Who else on his team doesn't go off? What does that mean about the opponent? What type of game environment would that be in? And so to me, kind of telling the story with the lineup, I've had a lot better success with that than sometimes when you kind of get caught up in trying to get all the top plays, get all your favorite guys, get all the best plays. Sometimes those are my worst lineups because I'm focused so much on trying to get the best plays that I'm not telling a cohesive story where my lineup could conceivably hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm rolling with tomorrow is like I'm really trying to find the top 2 quarterbacks. I've got a running back that's going to be pretty much locked into all of my lineups. And at the wide receiver position, that's where this slate's truly a mess. And we'll get to talk plenty about it here on this show. And Darren, totally good point here, says after all that prep, some random Memphis running back will have 4 carries for 4 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, that's going to be Frank Peasant. That's what he does. So yeah, if you're rolling with like the random stuff like that, go Frank Peasant tomorrow. But let's go ahead and talk about this quarterback position, Zach. So if we were just ranking the quarterbacks, because honestly, I kind of like the way DraftKings did pricing on this slate. They're all 6 kind of priced in a pretty similar range, right? Like there's literally $1,000 separating CJ Bailey from Brock Lowry. So price is almost ignored at quarterback. You just got to get the 2 best ones. Who do you think is the guy that by the time we're sitting here midnight tomorrow night, who's the one that ends with the most fantasy points?
For me, it's probably going to be Brendan Lewis.
Okay.
Just
Make your
because
case.
we're talking about this bad North Carolina State defense. passing, but he also runs too.
Mhm.
Mobile quarterback under 8,000. He's only been below 20 points 3 times this season.
Super consistent.
So yeah, it's just a super consistent floor, but he also has upside, and so he's my favorite. It probably would have been Bailey if their prices were swapped, but
Mhm.
because Lewis is $600 less, and also with Bailey, the thing that irritates me so much
Yes, I know
is
where you're
you
going with
have
this.
stupid Will Wilson. That's why he's listed on there, because he had 4 rushing touchdowns last game. And so I could see, if you obviously not if you're doing like 3 lineups, but if you're doing like 20 lineups, I could see using Will Wilson, just because literally every time they get inside the 5, he's the quarterback. And they're running with him 95% of the time.
Yeah, and I think if you're playing Showdown for that game, I think he's a super viable option in Showdown.
Yeah.
I think that
People
look,
won't
the
even
way they
consider him.
Yeah, like the way they priced him on a Showdown slate, you could like legitimately play him as like one of your supplementary pieces. Like I probably wouldn't captain him, right? But like you could play him in a lineup and just be like, if he vultures 2 touchdowns, he's going to be in the optimal at that price tag. So yeah, I agree with you on the point on Bailey. If I got news that Will Wilson was opting out, I would feel a lot better about Bailey. But I don't think we're gonna get that. My favorite on the slate, I like your Lewis call. My favorite guy on the slate is Brock Lowry. Like you look at what this guy does on the ground, and it's just super consistent volume, super consistent production. And I really think the Kennesaw State defense, they really look good against Jacksonville State, but if you look at what they were doing near the end of the season, they were really slipping. They were really kind of holding on for dear life at the end of the season. There was some not great offenses that were scoring a lot of points on them. So I really do think that Lowry, with the plus matchup against this Kennesaw State defense, I think he's in line for a huge game, and he's the cheapest of all 6.
Yeah, I like going to him, and especially I think a lot of people are going to have that bad taste in your mouth, which you can't really. That's what we talked about before too. You
Mm-hmm.
can't reflect on what it was. You had to play him on that slate because he was like 6,400 on a small slate, and it just ended up being Buckley went crazy. And so what's going to happen is literally everybody's going to play Buckley, and then Lowry's going to be the one probably to get everything.
Right, and I'm gonna be honest. I still cashed a lot of lineups that had Lowry on that slate, because he was so cheap. He allowed you to get a lot of the top end skill players. And if you faded most of the Indiana Ohio State game, which I did not have a lot from that game whatsoever. No core plays, no big pieces at all. You could put together cohesive lineups that still had Lowry as one of those 2 quarterbacks. And like I said, part of it was because you had one game that was one of the bigger games of the day kind of fail. But, I think with Lowry at his price point, with what he does, you get the combination of floor and ceiling, and I think he's got one of the best matchups on the slate. So Lowry is my guy. If you are in the chat, let us know who's your top quarterback for the Friday slate, or who's your bottom quarterback for the Friday slate, because that's what we're about to do next. And Darren, I love the comment here. Lowry is like that Army QB last season, Captain America. Bryson Daly played him more than a few times. About the only time last season I didn't play him was against Notre Dame, because I knew how that was going to go. But yeah, he was great, and Lowry's game does kind of match up with him. Well, like we said, Western Michigan's almost a Service Academy offense, how much they're running the ball. So we talked about the top quarterbacks. Zach, who would you nominate as like the bottom quarterback on this slate? Because I think I know who my answer is, and I'm curious if it's going to align with yours.
Yeah, I'm curious too if it is. Mine's going to be Ty Simpson.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Yeah. They looked terrible last week, and they've had, injuries on the offensive line. They've had the running back injuries. They've had Cuevas being, and supposedly they're getting some of those guys back, but I don't think it's really going to matter. These 2 teams already met, and he did throw for 300 yards, but it was at Alabama.
Yeah.
And he still threw a pick, and he still finished under 20 DraftKings. And he's finished under 20. He's been 20 or less in the last
since the Vanderbilt
7 games. Yeah,
yeah,
last 8 games. He hasn't shown any upside worth anything. And he's more expensive than Lewis and Lowry, which are just easy. Even Odom, and even Mateer on that side. And so Simpson would be the guy that I'm probably not going to use at all.
Yeah, I'm I'm debating on if he's even worth putting in my pool. That's how low I am on Simpson, because you hit the nail on the head. There hasn't been any upside. He's the only quarterback on the slate that gives you zero running. Like, he had negative 28 rushing yards against Georgia. I was looking on Underdog today. I had a thought, like, because I'm a crazy person. So, like, I literally have these thoughts pop in my head at random times of the day. Like, I'm literally teaching these kids about quadratic equations, and a thought pops in my head: what is Ty Simpson's rushing prop? I need to go check Underdog right now to see what this rushing prop is. So I kind of finished my lesson, and then I immediately go check to see what the rushing prop is. There was not a line on there, but if you could get an under on Ty Simpson, I would say any positive number. Like, I think he's going to end this game with negative rushing yards, which is terrible from a fantasy perspective. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of completely out on him. Like, I can't talk myself into, I just gave this whole lecture about, hey, you got to find the top two quarterbacks. You got to find the top two quarterbacks. I can't envision a scenario where he's one of the top two. I just can't.
No, I agree. Even with Bailey getting vultured, he does enough. Like last game, he still had 65 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And he threw for 2 passing touchdowns. And like you said, he's literally the only one that doesn't run.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, I think Mateer on the other side is kind of sneaky.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Nobody going to play him.
Yeah, he's going to run. He's going to be low owned. And, if you buy into the whole injury, the hand injury or whatever, he's progressively gotten better ever since then. And he's now had a month off since the OSU game. So he's healthy as he's ever been. He's at home. He's going to run. I think this is a good spot for him. So let's get caught back up on the chat here. Anthony says Lewis #1, so he's agreeing with you. Darren says Sooner defense good for sack bonus. Too bad I can't play OU defense in Showdown. I get that. And then Darren saying, screw Ty Simpson, you're supposed to be teaching them kids. Hey, I did teach them, okay? It was just after the lesson that I went and checked the Ty Simpson line, all right? I do my job. I'm not one of these people that just is, hey, go do this, whatever. I teach. Trust me on that. All right. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the running back position. So, running back, we got dealt manna from heaven today, Zach. That's going to be my description, because we were talking about this earlier in the week about how this was an ugly running back slate. And it instantly became an infinitely easier running back slate because NC State's Hollywood Smothers has entered the transfer portal. He is not playing, which leaves Jaden Scott to start at $5,200. The last time he was the starter, 196 yards and 4 touchdowns against Georgia Tech. He is going to be the workhorse back. He has a salary of $5,200. How do you not lock him tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. Like, I had Buckley as the initial core running back just because all of these running backs are not great. And then in Smothers, I wasn't sure, if he was going to play. Obviously, turns out my gut was right on that. Mm-hmm. And then we have Scott. So you could easily just throw in Scott and Buckley and just call it a day. Because maybe you could use Bennett. There's just not a lot to be excited about with running backs on this slate.
I like the idea of Bennett as this GPP pivot play. He's super involved in the passing game.
Yeah.
Western Michigan, I kind of think that, like, they're a really good MAC defense, but they haven't been all that great in games outside of the MAC. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. But you're getting a guy who's going to be on the field a ton, be involved in the passing game. He's $5,600. And I think now with everybody going to Scott, we've talked about this before, maybe on one of these live shows, but definitely in the Discord, that when there's like a super obvious, super chalky guy at X price, right? Everybody who's right around him in pricing just doesn't get played. And Bennett's right there at 5,600. So I really do think that Bennett is in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, he's another guy that I like because that's what we want too. You want guys that are going to get involved in the passing game, especially for running back, because that means if the game script flips negatively, they're still going to be involved. But then we have a bunch of who in the world is going to touch the ball.
Correct.
Like Des Rozier's and Sutton Smith. At one point, it was Des Rozier's backfield, and now It's Suns, and then we had the random Friday night game where Frank Present
Don't get
goes
me
off
started on the Frank Peasant game.
for 3 touchdowns.
I'm watching it, and I have Lewis and I have Braham, and it's like every time they get inside the 10, it's like it's Frank Peasant time, and he just gets all the touchdowns, and it's like, bro, like I need some touchdowns for somebody else, and they just kept going to Peasant.
Yeah, and then you have – I would have been interested in Daniel Hill if Miller was going to be out again, but it looks like Miller's going to be in. I do think they are preferring to use Hill as the pass-catching back. So
Correct.
if you think that Bama's going to be passing early and often, then he would be the guy. And then A.K. Deer, he's probably not even in play now. That was more listed just because he was going to spell Hill a little bit if Miller missed, but Miller looks good to go. And then again,
if I can add to that Alabama situation, to my eye, the last time I watched them play when Miller and Hill were both active, it looked like they had Miller in when they wanted to pass block and Hill in when they wanted to pass to the running back. And sorry, but you don't get any fantasy points for blocking. So, I do like Jam Miller and what he does for the run game for Alabama. I don't like the concept of playing him against this Oklahoma defense.
No.
When he's not going to catch passes. I just don't think that that's a great spot.
Yeah, they're one of the top run defenses in the nation. Like, if you're playing one of them, just do Hill. And then you have the OU running back situation, which is like, why are they even priced that high?
Yeah, it's a mess.
They don't do anything.
I'm going to probably keep a running back pool tomorrow. And then I see we got Myron in the chat. Welcome back, Myron. Glad to have you. Been a regular viewer for the latter half of the season. Says Scott was the sole reason the NC State upset Georgia Tech. 100% agree. He was just so dynamic in that game. And then NC State's big passing plays were mostly off of play action from giving, just having so much success with Scott. And it was this great 1-2 punch. He looked great in that game. And, I think that, I don't know how I would compare Memphis's run defense to Georgia Tech. It might be pretty comparable. So I do think that this is a really good spot for Jaden Scott. And then Darren, Peasant's family doesn't talk about him as much as we have tonight. You're probably right, which seeing that's got me thinking, who's the guy that we've talked the most about over the course of the season? Like, who's the guy that every week we're seemingly talking about here on this show? I think I have one nominee. Do you have anybody that jumps out at you?
It's got to be Jacoby Williams.
Yes, I feel like we talk about Jacoby Williams all the time.
And I know people are going to hate me, but I'm still going to play him their next game because, he's just too talented.
Yeah, and, everybody, we talk about this in the Discord sometimes. Like, everybody has, their guy. Like, for college basketball, I have been spitting with Aiden Holloway ever since opening night against Baylor in 2023 in South Dakota, where he just went off against them for Auburn. And I'm like, that guy's got it. He's going to be a player. And I've kind of played him on every single DraftKings slate he's been on ever since because I know he's got that in him. And Darren says Sam Jackson the fifth. There has been – we have talked about good old Sam Jackson V quite a bit as well. That's a pretty good nominee. All right, you ready to move on to wide receiver, Zach?
Yeah, I think running back's pretty straightforward. You just lock in Scott and then just throw around Buckley, Bennett, Hill,
Pick your Memphis guy, yeah.
Yeah, but I think you just play Scott in every lineup.
Yep, he's dang near a lock for me. So now let's talk wide receiver. So we mentioned our love for some of these quarterbacks, right? So I think this is a good way to kind of go team by team for these. We can start with Western Michigan. We both liked Lowry. Do you need to play a wide receiver with him?
No, not in my opinion. And what we talked about this last time they were on the slate, and we saw it again in the championship game. They're almost using Talik Williams more as jet sweep type plays. They're not even really – they don't care to pass really. If they don't have to, they're not going to pass.
It's just – I feel like it's been a minus EV play to roll with both of them, or to roll with a stacking partner for Western Michigan every time he's been on the slate. So
yeah, the last two games he has had 0 catches, but he's had 6 rushes. And he was the guy. But
none of the other guys are doing anything either.
No, here's 1 catch for Bosma, 2 for Brooks, 2 for Chenault. just don't even need to mess with it.
The team I do think I want to play guys from, even if I don't play Amari Odom a whole lot, is I don't mind going with these Kennesaw State guys. This is a team that's going to have guaranteed passing volume. There's so few teams on this slate that are going to pass the ball a lot. Kennesaw State's one of them. And I even think Davis Bryson, the old former quarterback at $3,000, they were throwing to him a ton in that Conference USA title game. So I don't mind taking a true GPP punt on Davis Bryson at the stone minimum.
Yeah, the thing with that, I think the reason he got so much is Binyard got hurt in the first half.
Okay.
And I just going off the top of my head, I'd have to look into it at the targets and stuff, but I'm guessing that's what it would have to do. And I actually like going to Binyard because
I like Binyard.
His price is way down, and he is the true number one for them. We saw Kopic being shocked last time, and he didn't really do anything. That's kind of how his game is. He only gets 3 or 4 catches, and so unless he finds the end zone, he's not going to get double digits for you. Just kind of a value guy. And then Moss is kind of the same thing. Just a good volume, like 10, 15 points, but not really going to – the one that if you're looking for one that's going to break the slate or has the ability to break the slate, it'd be Binyard.
Agree. I think Binyard is the one. And I think that if you're going to have Moss or Kopic in your pool, or even Bryson, like I mentioned, I think that that's a valid option. Now, Memphis. This is kind of a bonus point to Brendan Lewis, in my opinion, is when you play a quarterback, you like them to have just one stacking partner. I'm good with just playing Braham, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, the Memphis guys outside of Braham it's very few far between.
Mm-hmm.
You might get a target to Boosie or whatever his name is, and there's this other guy, Anderson. Yeah, Anderson's been getting a couple catches. But there's you have a clear number one preferred target, and it's not that expensive either.
Now, a team that does not have a true number one target is NC State. However, I will say Jolly is one you got to mark. Not mark. You got to watch the status. You got to. It would not shock me because he's a legitimate NFL player. It would not shock me if he opted out of this bowl game.
Yeah, he's their best option. In the last 2 games, he's had 10 catches and a touchdown.
Right.
But if you're not around, like that's the deal. If you're wanting to make a lineup at 10 in the morning and not look at it again until 10 o'clock at night, then don't play guys like Jolly because they could very much be out at the last second. But the rest of these guys, it's just literally dart throws. Like last week, it was Wesley Grimes. The week before was Terrell Anderson.
I like Anderson quite a bit.
Yeah. I know, back in November 1st against Georgia Tech, it was Teddy Hoffman. So for those guys, other guys just take shots on them. And also it would depend, like if Jolly's out, then obviously they're going to get a boost in their
for sure. So what I like about Anderson, so believe it or not, I actually coached against him back when I was coaching high school football. And he kind of fits the bill of he's kind of been used as a big play guy to this point in his career, but I think he has that like legitimate route running possession receiver chops in him, if that makes sense. Like if Jolly is out, they could throw some of those middle of the field, short and intermediate targets to Anderson because I think he's got that in his game. I don't think he's just like this deep threat, contested catch, big play guy, whereas Rodgers and Grimes, that's kind of what they've shown to be in their NC State careers. I think that Anderson is the guy that can go get you a little more, just because I think he's got that in his game.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. And then we have the fun Bama.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of like what we're hearing in the chat. I like Josh Cuevas. I think that the price tag is really solid, and I think you look at this Oklahoma defense. He had a really good game against Oklahoma the last time they played. So I don't mind the idea of Cuevas at 4,200.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the things is Oklahoma's got really good corners and safeties, and so what's going to be open? Those little short slant routes with the tight end. And he's obviously the cheapest because I know people are going to see, oh, Ryan Williams is 5,800,
Right.
and they're going to want to play him. But the fact of the matter is, whatever the case may be, injured, whatever, he has not produced this year. And literally 5.8, 0, 3.5, 6.5. Those are the last 4 games. Nothing in that screams he's going to be a top receiver on the slate. Like, all the more power to you. But that's what DraftKings is trying to do. They're trying to dangle that little apple for people to bite on with that price. And I'm not going to.
I really think if his name wasn't Ryan Williams and he didn't have an Alabama jersey on his profile on DraftKings, he would not be 5,800. I don't know how the algorithm has him at 5,800 based off what he's done this season.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything. And then Bernard, he's kind of a safety valve, but at 6,400, you can get Satanga, you can get Braham for cheaper. There's just other guys you don't really need when you can get Cuevas, or you can get Horton, who's another guy that they look to in the red zone.
So, I don't mind Bernard, but, he's literally the most expensive wide receiver on the slate. And it just feels like you're telling me he's going to outscore all these guys? It just doesn't feel like he's going to end the slate of the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
That's not saying he's a bad play. It's not saying he's not going to score. But, is he going to get 10 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown? I don't see that kind of game happening. And watch that exact stat line go happen. But I just don't see it. And the Oklahoma side, I think it's quite simple. I'm really just going to play Satania. And I love Satania on this slate, but I'm probably not going to play anybody else at all.
Well, the guy I'm going to play, who I'm talking about.
I know where you're going with this.
Because especially if I want to stack if I want to stack OU, is Deion Burks, and he finally found the end zone last week. And so maybe with Mateer getting healthy and all of that, and talk about a good 1-2 punch there. And so I could see using Burks, but obviously I'm not going to use Kanak whenever Burks is cheaper. I'm not going to use Cabantes Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it would be just those 2 guys, Burks and Satanga.
I like that logic. I think I'm just on Satania, but, I play a 20 max. And if Deion Burks finds his way into that 20 max, I'm not going to complain about it. So, yeah, I believe that pretty much covers it for this slate. 3 guys we've already talked about for your cash game core, Zach. Who's in the cash core?
Yeah, so Brandon Lewis, he's probably going to be the highest owned quarterback, but as we've talked about, that's what you want for cash. You want to be targeting the high-owned guys that you're confident in, and I'm confident in him. I think Brock Lauer is going to be the chalk number 2. But I like Mike's idea for GPP of getting Mateer, because it's looking like he's going to be one of the lower owned guys. And then Jaden Scott, as we know, he's going to be the highest. I could see it. He's probably going to be the 95% type in cash, and probably still 50-60% in GPP.
I don't see how you don't play him.
And then you have Satanga, because like we've already talked about, he's been the most consistent receiver of all of these guys, all year long. He's averaging 18 points a game. He's averaging 21 points a game at home. He gets he's Mateer's favorite target, has been all season. And so it's just pretty easy to me.
Did you know, this stat might blow your mind, did you know that Isaiah Satania is second in the receiving yards in the SEC this season?
I know, but it doesn't surprise me. He's going to get over 1,000 by the end of this game.
It was Brazel and then Satania, which seems shocking.
He just goes overlooked because OU's offense was so, so most of the season, and Mateer. But you look at it, he's literally been over 20 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And that's just a pretty good number for not a very high price. I feel like if if his name was Jeremiah Smith, he'd be about 10,000 on this slate.
Right. And, what if his name was Ryan Williams?
Yeah.
You would think that Ryan Williams would be the one that has Satania's stat line, and Satania would be the one with Ryan Williams' stat line based off of what we thought about those guys in the preseason. So you ready to roll on to the Saturday slate?
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Okay. Darren with the news, going to start calling him Darren Schefter in here. Josh Hoover in the transfer portal. Myron says he's going to lock in the USC spread. I like that logic. Now, that's going to be interesting because I know there's some people, some TCU people that have reached out to me before that they think that Hoover is not good and was holding them back. I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll see. And, that USC game will definitely be telling because that USC defense, not the best. So we'll see what the TCU backup can do, and we'll see where old Josh Hoover lands once he's in the portal. Maybe he can vulture someone else's 1-yard rushing touchdowns when he gets there. Josh Hoover, the king of the -7 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns stat line. Him and what was the guy from Louisville that used to do that? Miller Moss?
Yeah, Miller Moss.
Yeah, Miller Moss.
And he has, -25 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns.
Craziness. All right. So let's talk about this Saturday slate. So for Saturday, Zach, I think there's a much muddier picture in terms of stacking. Like, I don't know if I'm going to build out a single game stack on this slate because I have such supreme confidence that 2 offenses on this slate are going to score a lot of points, and I think you're going to need a piece of them, and that's Ole Miss and Oregon. Shocker. Maybe it's not a shocker, obviously, but I just think that you're going to need a piece of those 2, and with no game environment super compelling, to me it just seems like a hard slate to build out stacks for.
Yeah, the one game that I would make a small case for stacking is the one Texas A&M Memphis. Yes. Miami, just because it's going to be the most competitive game. Because we could literally see both of those other games be 35-0 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And then none of the starters are playing the second half.
That game is a true mystery box to me. I have no idea what's going to happen in that A&M Miami game. If somebody came back from the future and said, "Hey, Mike, Carson Beck's going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns," I'd be like, okay. And also if they came to me and said, "Hey, Carson Beck's going to throw for 79 yards and 3 interceptions and you're going to get benched in the first half," I'll be like, okay. I don't know what to expect from either of these quarterbacks. Both of them have a high upside. Both of them have good receivers to throw to. But what are they actually going to do? I just don't know. I think that there is a case to be made that you can stack that game. But, man, I just don't know. It's hard to have confidence in those 2 guys. They're all over the place.
Well, that's why I would make a case to stack because you could literally, with the prices, you can fit Craver, Concepcion, Tony, and both quarterbacks and still feel confident because they're so cheap. Even Tony at 69, that's not too expensive. That's what I don't understand on both of these. The Friday that we talked about and this one, why Satanga and why Tony are not priced higher. So
Tony
people
can be
actually have to
8,900
make
on
it.
this slate and I'd still play him.
Yeah. At 69, I'm going to have him in 100% of my lineups. Not even a question.
Yeah, and Darren's right. Literally, Tony looks like the best, most dynamic player on the field every time he's out there, and he's 17. just craziness. Yeah, I agree with you, Myron. This bracket, I've kind of talked ad nauseum about it over all my shows, but it just, I don't know. It just kind of stinks, and I hope we don't get blowouts. I really hope we don't, but it's hard to not see it trending that way. So let's talk about. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing because I just was like, let me check the weather because Texas A&M outside.
Kyle Field, yeah.
And we're looking at gust of 30 miles an hour, so that could affect the passing game a little bit. I know that their stadium's huge, and so the wind might be kind of a little blocked there, but also, that is one thing to consider.
Did you hear Nick Saban on the McAfee show talking about Kyle Field today?
No, I didn't know.
So he literally went on there and he's like, I know they pipe in noise. I know that they pipe in crowd noise. That's the loudest place we ever played. I complained to the SEC commissioner. I know they pipe in noise. It's like, dang, Nick, like, tell us how you really feel. So yeah, maybe if they are piping in all that noise too, maybe that might have a little bit of an effect on Carson Beck. Anyway, let's do the same thing we did for the quarterback position here that we did on the first slate. We'll go best, we'll go worst. Because again, the bottom line, it's a 3-game slate. You got to find your top 2. If you're not going to find the top 2, you're not going to win all the money. So let's go ahead now and identify the top one. I'll let you start, Zach. Who do you think your top quarterback is going to be? And mine may or may not be different.
Mine's Marcel Reed, and I know who yours is, he's the other guy that's Mark Cash. And really, like, to me, it's like a 180 from Friday. Friday, I could get behind playing literally all those guys except for one. And on this one, I'm mainly interested in these 2 guys. Like,
I'm kind of with you.
I'm not going to play Barnett. I'm not going to play Retzlaff. Moore doesn't really get, with how much talent they have, they just kind of spread it around. And then like with Beck, I'm still going to use Beck in game stacks. But like we talked about, the range of outcomes is so incredible with him that if you're doing cash, you just lock in the points with Chambliss and Reed.
Mm-hmm. And if you're playing cash and you said that you were playing Carson Beck, I would say, can I interest you in not playing cash? Like Carson Beck is the antithesis of a cash game quarterback.
Chambliss is 20 points or more every single time since he's been the starter.
Yeah, so
just so consistent. That's what you want. Because again, in cash, you don't need the 40, 50 point guys. You just need that floor to get you over half the guys. And Reed and Chambliss, in my opinion, are the by far and away the highest opportunity for that.
So I'll kind of go ahead and talk about Mr. Trinidad and Tobago himself. So Trinidad Chambliss, 39 DraftKings points last time against Tulane. He hit both the 300-yard passing bonus and the 100-yard rushing bonus. The team, prior to a kneel down at the end of the game, had 10 offensive possessions, 9 of which were with the starters. They scored points on 8 of them, then they had 1 punt. So Tulane had 0 answers for what this Ole Miss offense was throwing at them. I kind of think that's going to be the case again. And, they got the highest team total on the slate by quite a bit. And I just think that, even if you think, well, Kawan Lacey's going to get his, well, yeah, Lacey and Chambliss could both get theirs. And, they've
been doing it all season.
Yeah, I talked about this on my show. Like, you could literally play both of them together and be fine, especially on a 3-game slate like this, where 2 of the teams are probably going to get blown out. So I really, really like Chambliss. You kind of talked about it a little bit in terms of focusing on Reed and Chambliss. I'm kind of the same mindset. I'm probably going to have Chambliss about 80%, Reed probably about between 50 and 60. So that way the other crop of quarterbacks, the 4 of them combined, is going to be between 60 and 70. Like, I'm not going to play any of them probably more than 25%. But Chambliss and Reed, huge parts of my lineups.
Yeah. I think it's just too easy to get them. And I don't really think there's much else to talk about on that. I mean, especially with how bad James Madison looked. And now you're getting a lot better team than Troy.
So I do think Moore has a little bit of intrigue for GPPs, but like, they might not need him to do a whole lot in this game. There's a scenario where JMU shuts down the run and Moore has to win with his arm, and he does, and scores a lot of fantasy points. There's also a scenario where he just does nothing but hand off for 3 hours. Like, I don't know. It's kind of he has the weirdest game log, man. Like, he just really does. You can't really predict when he's going to be good, when he's not.
Yeah, and Reed's only 200 more and has the higher rushing upside because Moore, he doesn't really run a whole lot.
Doesn't run unless he has to.
And I don't think
they're not dialing up zone read for Dante Moore.
Yeah, I think Chambliss and Reed is kind of like for me, it's like 1A, 1B, and then probably, like you said, Moore and Beck. But the other 2, I could even get behind fading, even if I was playing 5 lineups.
I might play a little bit of Retzlaff because, like, we've seen him explode for these big games. None of them have been against teams of Ole Miss's caliber, though. All right,
Yeah,
so let's talk.
he had 7 points in the first game. He had 5 completions.
he was literally benched in the third quarter for Brendan Sullivan of Northwestern and Iowa fame. You remember Brendan Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, like back in the summer, like Retzlaff literally transferred to Tulane on like the start of August, and I think it's because like the only reason they took him was because they knew they didn't want to go a full season with Brendan Sullivan. Like, let's be honest, he's not good. Darren's saying, why did Ole Miss struggle with Wazoo? Just line playing with their food. I remember just a little bit of vague details about that game. It wasn't one I was watching.
I'm guessing they were overlooking it. They had LSU. They just beat LSU, rivalry game, and then they had Georgia next week. So I would bet money it was just one of those. But you still, even in that game, they both, Lacey had 21 and Chambliss had 25. And on a 3-game slate, if he gets 25 and the rest of them get 18, you need it. So.
Yeah. So speaking of which, let's talk running back now. So is Kawan Lacey just expensive Jaden Scott? Like, is he the guy that we're going to be pretty much locking into our lineups, even though he's $7,800?
Yeah, I'm still going to play him. I mean, I know people are like, oh, Tulane's good run defense, and that's why I did fade Hawkins last, and he just got hurt. But Lacey still found the end zone twice against Tulane. And he gets a little bit of pass catching too. And so it's just so much volume. And like, again, kind of like with Friday, the other running backs, none of them are like, my eyes are popping out my head because I want to play them.
Right.
Because Oregon is a running back by committee. Miami's a running back by committee. Texas A&M is a running back by committee. Tulane is a running back by committee. Yeah. Although I will say McClure has been more the guy, but the problem is it's going against, Ole Miss, and it's going to be a situation where they're probably going to be forced to pass right away.
Well, McClure's been great, but they've been using Gordon on passing downs.
Yeah, so Gordon's probably the guy if you think they're going to get blown out. So
yeah, I do kind of like Mark Fletcher because you just think back to the last time Mark Fletcher was like fully healthy, and he was the guy, right? Like they were getting further and further away from a committee. It was going more and more towards Mark Fletcher being the workhorse.
And that price is nice. I just saw that.
But I don't know if I would play him in cash formats, like maybe unless you're trying to save salary somewhere, because he's still not a safe play. Like, what if they just decide Pringle's the guy?
Yeah. And then with, Whittington has been getting more carries, but in a game like this, in all the games that they've blown out, he doesn't get as many carries.
Yeah, so
like the Minnesota game, he had 8.
I deep dove this Oregon running back wheel of doom, and basically you go back and look at the games that they've won by like more than 2 scores. So like basically excluding the Iowa, USC, and Washington games, you look at like all the other games they've had this season, and it's like one running back randomly goes off, but good luck figuring out which one it is. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. There's no pattern to it. It's just one of them happens to break off a long touchdown run, and that's the guy you want. And which is kind of annoying for a slate like this. But if you're playing multiple lineups, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to get in all 3 of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I will say, to me, it's looked like just from kind of eye test and everything, that Davison is the one that they use the most for the blowout situations.
Yes.
Like Minnesota, Minnesota, he got 22. Wisconsin, he got 28. Rutgers, he got 19. And then he had Oklahoma State, he didn't do much. But he's priced only 600 less than Whittington. But I do kind of like the idea of De'Aaron Hill because he's way down there.
Oh, like
And
if you play D or Hill, you're going to be able to do so much with the rest of your lineup. Like you're just going to play whatever quarterback and wide receivers you want if you play D or Hill.
yeah, and he's gotten there. Like against Penn State, he had 17. Against Northwestern, he had 15. Against Rutgers, he had 14. And so I don't mind just dropping down to him and just banking on Oregon gets up early and it's all passing. And then, Whittington, they let him sit down. And so, but yeah, that's what makes it tough when you have Whittington and Davison right there in price.
So, a slightly compelling case for Wayne Knight. Like, he's the workhorse. He's going to be like the only guy that gets any run. And you look at Oregon this season, they've surrendered some rushing performances to some very mediocre teams. Like, no offense, Zach, but your Pokes ran for 144 yards on them. And Northwestern ran for 178. Rutgers, 123. 154 for Washington. Like, if you want to beat Oregon, you might want to try to do it by running the ball. And Wayne Knight would be the guy they're going to do it with. Like, you're not very much worried about a committee. All these other committees on this slate, that's not a committee. So I don't mind the idea of Wayne Knight as purely like this GPP, super low floor, super high upside shot.
Yeah, and they use him in the passing game too. Against Marshall and App State, he combined for 10 catches. Okay, so here's a good example. Where is it at? Oh, no, I was looking at the wrong game. Never mind. I was going to say against Louisville, but that was before he kind of took over the backfield. So
yes, and
kind of not really a good example.
I remember watching that game, and Louisville's got a pretty good D-line. They could not block Louisville at all. Like, they just run game, pass game, they could not block them. Now, the offensive line for JMU's played much better down the stretch of the season, and I think their main hope in this one will be that maybe they could block Oregon in the run game. All right, let's talk about wide receiver now. So this is, to me, a slate that has a lot more sexier and appealing options at wide receiver than the first one that we talked about. Like, you've got Malachi Tony at the top, looks like a great play. You've got Concepcion and Craver, always great plays anytime they're on the slate. And then you've got Ole Miss, who's finally settled on kind of this 11 personnel package where they only play 4 guys. And then you've got the Oregon guys that are kind of the question marks with their status at the end, right? So just right off the jump, Zach, who is going to be your favorite receiver on this slate?
Yeah, we already kind of alluded it a minute ago, but it's going to be Tony. I mean, I don't see how you just legitimately say, unless you think just Texas A&M going to just focus on shutting him down, but I don't. He's too talented and too explosive. Yeah, he's got over 25 catches in just 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
25 catches, that's 25 DraftKings points, and that's not including any yards or touchdown or nothing. And they're using him in the run game too. He has 8 carries for 46 yards the last 2 games. Like, and I, if you remember, what I think it was the Virginia Tech game. It was a recent game wherever I deep dove and I did the reason write up for it in the core. Was that every single competitive game that Miami has played, he's been over 20 DraftKings points.
That's the biggest thing when you look at him is you look at that game log and he's doing it against quality opponents, right? Like, now, obviously, Miami has not played an SEC schedule, but in fact, you could argue Texas A&M hasn't played an SEC schedule when you look at who they've played, but that's another story. When you look at the better teams Miami has played, he's shown up every single time, and it just feels like it's gonna be no different here on this slate. And like, if Tony busts and that's what loses me all the money, I'm willing to live with that decision. I can't fade him.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, if Concepcion and Craver, there was only one of them, it would be easy to talk about. But because there's 2 of them, and it's literally been this game of Is it a Craver week? Is it a Concepcion week? I know Concepcion's been a lot more consistent, but we've seen the higher upside games a lot of times from Craver. He hasn't shown it a lot lately, but earlier in the season he did.
I'm kind of team Craver. I think that what they did against Notre Dame, that's kind of applicable for what they might do against Miami. And that was Craver's night. And Craver's also a guy that is heavily used in the screen game. When they want to throw screens, they're throwing it to Craver. That's pretty much all he got against Texas was a few good plays on screens. And to me, what's one way you can combat a really good defensive line, a really good pass rush, throwing screens. So I think that X's and O's wise, I really think it shapes up to be a Craver game. Now I say that, and it's kind of like a whole, like, do you ever watch the show? Like, maybe you've seen it at some point in your life. You ever watch Friends, Zach?
It's been a while, but yeah.
So there's a famous episode where Joey and Phoebe find out that Chandler and Monica are finally dating, right? And they're playing this game of not letting them know that they know. And there's this whole back and forth of oh, they don't know that we know that they know. Oh, they know that we know that, there's that whole back and forth. It's kind of the same concept in football sometimes, where it's maybe Miami's sitting there saying, oh, we know that Texas A&M is going to throw screens to Craver, right? And then, but also at the same time, Texas A&M's well, maybe they know that we know that we're going to throw screens to Craver. So there's this kind of chess match that goes on with this. And, sometimes the guy that is shaping up to be the best play in terms of X's and O's doesn't end up working out. And so that brings us to Myron's point. I could see Miami taking away either Craver or KC. Bethel Roman is an interesting stack piece. Got nicked up in Texas, but should be healthy after the long layoff. If you watch the Texas game, Bethel Roman got a decent amount of targets because Texas kind of knew, hey, they like to throw to Concepcion and Craver. We're going to really make sure that we have eyes on them and that we don't allow those two guys to beat us. And Bethel Roman got a decent amount of looks. So I don't mind the Bethel Roman shout. I think if you're playing GPPs, he's certainly worth a look as a value play at 4,100.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about his comment about E.J. Smith.
Yes.
I agree on the main slate, but on Showdown, that's that perfect because he's 1K flat, and he's been the goal line running back, and he's got a touchdown in 3 straight games, and so that's that perfect 1K guy where you can throw in, I just did a lineup real quick, and you can throw in Tony at captain, get Smith, Concepcion, Reed, Beck, and then you still have 5,400 for a kicker or Bethel Roman that we just talked about. And so it just opens up so much on Showdown.
It's not bad. It's not a bad option for Showdown. All right. So we kind of talked about the A&M and Miami guys inadvertently, even though we were kind of talking about the slate at large. We ended up talking about those guys. Hey, I see we got our guy Huncho in the chat. Says he's been busy watching basketball. Yeah, it's been a solid mid-major slate of college basketball DFS. Definitely a fun slate of games tonight. Now, let's talk about kind of the other teams. Do we need to target anybody for Tulane? Is that something we even need to think about?
I'm not going to. I mean, they are so spread out anyways. Last week we were kind of forced to just because of, they were favored and it was a short slate. But on this type of slate, I say just X them out. Don't even think about it because it's so spread out and you can't really hone in. I will say the guy that has the most talent, that has kind of had a down year, but he's the deep guy threat is Amari Hayes.
Yes, and every time I watch Tulane, it's why doesn't he play more? It's frustrating.
But yeah, none of them are going to get the volume, especially for cash games, to even consider.
The one I will say that has been on the field significantly more than the rest has been Brown Stevens in the recent weeks. So maybe he's an option, but I don't think full fading the Tulane receiving group is going to cost you anything if you do.
No.
But the Ole Miss side, though, I do like this Ole Miss side. I have a favorite, though. Well, like I said, they've kind of gone to this very condensed rotation, which is so good for DFS. There's a guy that I have that's the favorite, and I'm going to see if it's the same as yours. Do you have one that is kind of your favorite for the Ole Miss group?
I probably have an idea of who yours is.
Okay.
Mine's might be a little different if I'm right on yours.
Mine played for your team.
Okay, so it's not the guy that I was thinking of was Harrison Wallace because he's the guy that's looking chalky.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, Stribling, it's about time they finally realize what they have in this guy.
Mm-hmm. I just think that guy's really talented.
Yeah, and he's cheaper than the chalk receiver. Like Wallace is looking like what, second highest owned right now or third highest owned. Mm-hmm. So you can get that, and then they like the tight end, Daquan Wright too.
They do, and someone can make the argument that I'm just bitter because you remember it was week 4, week 5 when Wallace was like mega chalk at 4,100 and he just totally busted. It might have been against Tulane. Hold up, was that against Tulane? Do you remember that? Which game that was?
Yeah, he had 1 catch for 4 yards against Tulane.
Okay.
And I bet it is because it was after 2 big games. It was after the first 3 games where he was looking like a stud.
I may have just connected the dots that the Harrison Wallace mega chalk game was against Tulane. I remember the Harrison Wallace mega chalk game. He really let us down.
Yeah, and that was the game that Daquan Wright had 3 for 71, a touchdown. And I believe, Caden Lee had 3 for 70. He had 2 for 60. Stribling did decent.
I like Stribling. I think he's got the goods.
He's so talented. I don't know why OSU let him go. I mean, not that it would have mattered. The quarterbacks were terrible this year.
That's probably what he saw. Is he's like, hey, I don't want Sam Jackson B throwing the ball to me, and I'm gonna get on out of here.
It just sucks because they had Hingy and he looked great that first game.
Good.
And then he gets hurt and shut down the rest of the year.
Yeah. So let's get caught up on the chat here. Myron says, "What's the news on Evan Stewart?" That's a name I need to look up because I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not.
You have.
If there is an update.
You have Stewart, you have Bryant, and you have Dak Moore, all questionable. And
great.
In my opinion, just because of they're not going to need them, any of them. So in my opinion, they're just going to rest them all to give them another week off because they could probably bring back Mekhi Hughes and win this game.
Good old dude. That would be so epic if they just brought Mekhi Hughes randomly out of nowhere and gave him he ran for 100 yards or something.
Yeah. In my opinion, if I had to, we're still 2 days away, I would say they're not going to play. And that's the sucky part is that's the 6:30 game.
Yes,
you have the other 2 games are already going to be over. And so if you do that, then you're kind of screwed, especially with Bryant and Stewart because they're so cheap. There's literally no one else to go to.
No, you'd be stuck playing one of the JMU guys.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
My strategy, which we're not even going to discuss. My strategy, what I believe I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Dak Moore. Just any Oregon receiver, I'm going to start with Dak Moore. And if he's in, I can keep it that way. If he's out, then in the lineups that I have the funds to, I'm going to upgrade to Sadiq. And the lineups that I don't have the funds to, I'm going to go down to Malik Benson. To me, that's the very simplified approach at it, is just make him the only one in your core. Now, granted, you're going to have to be around to change it. So don't forget to check your phone or don't fall asleep or nothing. But to me, that's the simple strategy is start with Dak Moore and then swap up to Sadiq or down to Benson if he's out.
Yeah. And I think from what I'm seeing on this early ownership, a lot of people are just kind of feeling the same way and just not touching any of the Oregon. Like Sadiq is only projected for 13%.
Yes. And the crazy part is if you're playing Dante Moore, if he were to be the optimal one, he would need to be stacked. He doesn't run.
Yeah.
So if you're playing Dante Moore, you need to play an Oregon receiver, and nobody's playing any Oregon receivers right now. It's weird.
And then as far as James Madison goes, DeGennaro would probably be the one that
That'd be my guy too.
But it's ugly. They prefer to, and like you said, they prefer to run the ball. And this is kind of the situation that we saw at I can't remember what game I was watching now, but it was the same situation where it was a mega underdog. I think it was I don't remember. But it was the whole game plan, you could tell, was they were just trying to run as much clock, keep that other offense off the field. And so you don't really need to focus on James Madison.
No.
It's
on the chat here. Yeah. So Darren saying Tulane coach staff's talking about getting the ball to Mahat more for Tulane. He has played more in recent weeks. He's gotten a little more run. If you're looking to make a GPP punt, I don't mind that idea. Like, go for it. It's a 3-game slate. If he catches a touchdown, you're going to be ahead for it. And Myron could not agree more. So, like, watching that game, if I'm watching a G5 football game and I remember the name of one of your offensive linemen or one of your DBs because they're just getting completely battered, snap in, snap out, that's a bad sign. And Elijah Culp was that guy. Like, they literally kept showing him on my TV screen because he kept getting penalties called on him. Like, which drives me crazy. I really wish they wouldn't do that. Like, the all-time worst was, were you watching the Notre Dame Texas A&M game earlier this year, Zach?
Parts of it, yeah.
The backup quarterback, Tyler Buckner, the one that dropped the hold on the extra point, they kept showing that man on the sidelines. And I'm like, that's kind of unfair, y'all. Like, we don't need to show, we don't need to keep showing this guy on the sidelines. But yeah, Elijah Culp for JMU, same deal. Like, he just kept getting penalties. They kept showing him on my screen, and it's like, dang, this guy is not having a good night. And it seems like whoever Oregon lines up against him is going to be able to have success. And Darren, if you are sleeping on College Football Playoff Saturday, you don't need to be playing DFS. No sleep weekends. Hey, I get it. I just hope that these games are close enough to keep everybody awake. That's the only thing I'm worried about. I hope I really hope there's not any blowouts. I don't want to see blowouts in the playoff. I never do, but I am worried about it. So, I think we forgot to mention the core, right?
Yeah, we kind of already talked about it though. Like Tony at receiver, Lacey at running back, Reed at quarterback. But we also mentioned, you could pretty much just throw in Chambliss for a fourth core there, pretty much. And the thing with Darren's comment about the Tulane guy, like the thing with that is, like, I would rather just play, like Deuce Alexander on a good team is 3,300 with Ole Miss. Like, just play the cheap guys from the teams that are going to put up 50, 60 points. Like, then trying to guess on which Tulane, which James Madison guy, because let's face it, both of those teams could score combined 14 points, and I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and so, it can very well play out.
That there's a reason why you have, just going down the list on ownership, Tony, Craver, Wallace, Concepcion, Alexander, Watkins, Lee, Marion, Sadiq. Right. All of those guys before you get to any Tulane or James Madison for receivers. And so that's kind of what this slate, I think, is going to come down to, is getting the Ole Miss receiver and the Oregon receivers right.
Yeah, you're right.
And the thing with Oregon, I think they're going to go, if you want to get different, that's where you go different, is getting them, because Sadiq and Moore and Benson, they're all more expensive than the Ole Miss guys, mostly.
Sorry, I had to take a big yawn there. And yeah, Darren, you're right. There was blowout. There was a ton of blowouts in the 14 blowout. There was like a 5-year stretch where every single one of them was blowouts. I don't want any of these games to be blowouts. Like, I really don't. I want games that are going to be entertaining to watch because I plan on watching them. Like, this is like the greatest sport in the world, and it doesn't need to be, kind of going out with a whimper because of a bad playoff. Like, no, we want these games to be epic, right? Which kind of brings us to kind of close here. Zach, you got any special plans for the college football playoff? Like, you going to a sports bar? You got having friends over? You do anything special? Or you just gonna be chilling, watching it at the house?
No, like one of my friends that's a coach here, he's a big OU fan, and he was actually trying to give away tickets. And so I could have gone to – it's only 3 hours from here to OU. And I was like, man, I thought – but I know my wife would kill me if I try to go. So I'm like, nah, I guess I'll just
But
watch
dude,
it.
if you went, you could be the guy that's tweeting during pregame warmups. Hey, well, what's his name? This player ain't out here yet. He ain't out here yet. You know, you could be that guy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I get done about 12:30 tomorrow with school, and we get a couple weeks off. And so I'm just going to relax and just enjoy being home with my wife and, watch some football.
So I am doing the unthinkable tomorrow. I am going to be driving during the Oklahoma-Alabama game. We're taking our family trip to go see family in Georgia, and we are leaving around 6. It's about a 4.5-hour drive, so I'll be done driving at 10:30. I may try to see if I can figure out how to get the radio call of the game, because Lord knows the kids are going to be asleep, so I'm going to be able to listen to whatever I want to listen to. And, experiencing a game via radio would make you feel like you're back in the 1970s. But that's going to be what I've got for Friday night. And then Saturday, we're going to be in Georgia with all the family, which is, to me, ideal for a family with small kids, because I can just kind of, give the 2 kids to the relatives, and then me and my dad could just sit on the couch and watch college football. Right? Like, hey, y'all get to play with the kids today. Y'all got them today. We're just going to sit here and watch college football all day Saturday. So that's kind of what the plan is for Saturday. So definitely looking forward to those Saturday games. And Myron asked a great question. He says, what non-CFP bowl game interests y'all the most? I mean, I'm a little biased. I'm going to be watching Texas, Michigan, but I'm really looking forward to Georgia Tech, BYU. I just enjoy watching Georgia Tech play. Their offense with Haynes King, the way it runs, the way they use him fascinates me. BYU is a team that is going to take the bowl game seriously, get to see more Bear Bachmeier. I think that's going to be a fun one, just a good competitive football game. So I'm really looking forward to watching that one. You got one that sticks out?
I like that one. That was one of my picks. Michigan, Texas is going to be a good one. Couple others. It just depends. That's the problem right now, asking 2 weeks in advance on some of these.
Somebody's going to opt out.
Yeah, it depends on who's playing. Like,
no, the one thing I can guarantee, Haynes King ain't opting out.
Yeah.
Haynes King will literally have his arm fall off and he'll still be out there trying to play.
Tennessee, Illinois, I think that could be a sneaky shootout.
That could be fun.
Altmaier's been good. But again, is Brazel going to sit? Is, whatever's going to happen. USC, TCU, a little less interest now, I guess, with Hoover out, but maybe we'll see, maybe Hoover was the problem. We'll see. Because Maeva, Lemon, they're always, but Lemon's not going to play
opted
either.
out.
Yeah,
and I believe Lane's opted out too.
Okay, so that's the problem is some of these, if it was 10 years ago, we'd be like, oh yeah, these are going to be some fire games. Maybe Arizona SMU, the no defense bowl in San Diego.
That could be fun.
Yeah, I'm just going through the list here.
Jennings going at it.
Let's see what else we got.
I like Myron's idea here too. Cal and Hawaii. Like Ali Hotto and JKS, Hawaiian native JKS going at it like that. That's fun. That's gonna be a fun one. And it's kind of in that window where there's not a whole lot else on TV unless you want to watch It's a Wonderful Life. So that's gonna be one I'm gonna be tuning into. And then last question says, can you discuss the Ohio head coach situation and what happened? I'm gonna be honest with you, Darren. I know he got fired. I don't really know a whole lot of the details. And
so there was a couple things. Like there was one where he had alcohol in his office and he was drinking during work hours. That was one of the things.
That's not a fireable offense.
But then another thing was extramarital affairs, multiple apparently, and one of them was with the undergrad student. So that, from what I read, I haven't read a whole lot in it either, but that was kind of like a several different things, kind of like a more thing.
So is horny head coaches like the new Me Too movement? Like, does college football have a horny head coach problem?
I don't know.
We got Sharon Moore, we got this guy at Ohio, and we know about Lane Kiffin's had some implications too. So, yeah, that's Yeah, is this just going to be the new thing where like all these head coaches get fired for having affairs? Or if you're an athletic department and you want to fire your head coach, do you bait him into having an affair so that then you can fire him?
Yeah,
hey, we don't have to pay the buyout if it's for cause.
Fire for cause, and you don't have to pay a buyout.
That sounds like the plot of a really bad R-rated comedy. Is like, hey, we're going to set this girl up to get this coach pinned and not have to pay him, and they end up falling in love. That just sounds like a plot to a bad movie. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, I don't know what those contracts say anymore. There's a whole lot of stipulations in contracts. The way you describe the alcohol though, Zach, that's a big nothing burger. It's got to be the whole extramarital affairs. It's got to be that. All right. Anyway, I believe that's gonna about wrap us up here, y'all.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to look real quick to see when we might be able to do a video again. Because let's see, 19th. The 22nd is just a single game. 23rd is just a 2-game or 3-game. Which I guess we could do 3-game.
Maybe because I'm going to be out of town until Christmas Eve.
Oh, okay. So so that Saturday
before the 26th, maybe before the 27th, maybe. Yeah. If not,
then,
we could definitely get one going before the round 2 of the CFP for sure.
Yeah, and then January 2nd looks like a 4-game. So isn't round 2 on the 1st?
Round 2 is 1 game on New Year's Eve and then 3 games on January 1st.
Because we could literally do one. Because Wednesday's a 4-gamer, and then you'd have the playoffs, and then Friday's a 4-gamer. If we had everything ready by then. We could cover 3 slates at once.
Yeah, that'd be a marathon show right there. But hey, so here's the bottom line though, y'all. We don't know when we're going to go live again. But you know how you will know if you go live again? Zach, do you know how to tell the people to know when we're going live?
Yeah, so they can get us on Discord, Fantasy Corner, or Big Country DFS Discord. They can also get at Mike Money Picks on Twitter and also at Big Country DFS. So we'll post it out. And we'll try to do it a day before if we can.
And real easy, there's a big button on your screen right now watching that says subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. Click notifications on. You will know when we go live every single time. Easy. But yeah, that's going to do it here for this episode, y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed tuning into this live show. Hopefully we gave you guys all the goods you need in order to build some winning lineups for these Friday and Saturday slates. Whatever you got planned, whether you are driving in a car, whether you are chilling at home, going to a sports bar, watching it with the boys, watching it with the kids, watching it with the wife, whatever you got planned, enjoy the college football playoff. Like I said earlier, this is like the best sport in the world. Love college football, love the college football playoff, and I hope that we get a good slate of games. I just hope that we get good games, and I hope they deliver. And I'm hoping that you guys have a good week in DFS. So, best of luck to you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in with us, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.